Dan's a car junkie through and through. He spent over a decade in the heavy duty aftermarket world, traveling up and down the East Coast and Midwest, visiting just about every tractor and trailer shop you can imagine. Over the years, Dan sold just about everything you can bolt onto a car or truck. That experience has led him into entrepreneurship. Together with his dad, they acquired ABC Direct Auto Parts, and today, Dan's the CEO, servicing gearheads across the country, keeping American hot rods running strong. Dan, welcome to How I Bought This.
Thank you, George.
Excited to have you on, man. Excited to have you on. I guess to kind of start this whole thing, you've been around like cars and trucks your virtually your whole life. Where did that like passion for this sort of stuff start?
Uh, there's nobody, honestly, in my family that's ever been into cars. I can't tell you where it came from, but it was just kind of a natural attraction. I think when I first recognized that I had a obsession for cars was when I was in middle school. I had the unfortunate accident of breaking my entire leg in a soccer accident. My dad just pulled up with a huge box of car customization magazines, and I just sat there pretty much every day and read them. And from there on, I couldn't look at anything else, and cars was just my life.
And then you made like your whole career experience was in it too. You spent pretty much a decade in the heavy duty aftermarket industry. What were you doing then?
So I went to school for an automotive aftermarket major, as well as business, and just so happened that our professor came from the heavy duty industry. So we learned our curriculum based upon that. So once we were finished and I graduated college, he helped provide us with some opportunities that led us into the heavy duty business, which, you know, in reality is as close as you can get to automotive. So I said, hey, this is a pretty easy way into the market. Let's give it a shot and see where it goes.
And then fast forward a little bit further than that, you and your dad eventually bought ABC Direct Auto Parts. How did that like opportunity come about and what year was that again?
That was 2016. I want to say it was towards the end of summer, like July, August of 2016. Uh, Basically, the opportunity came about. I was in the process of transitioning jobs in my, primary, situation as far as a career, still in the heavy duty industry. And my dad kind of semi-retired and he needed something to get him out of the house. He had a lot of business meetings with friends and colleagues, and eventually there was this connection where this gentleman wanted to get out of a business, and my dad again wanted to get into something that would kind of keep him occupied as well as support his retirement. So he said, "Hey, my son's in the cars. We could do this together. Let's give it a shot."
And there was no broker involved in it. It was just direct to the business owner.
Yeah, so the purchase was a direct purchase between the previous owner of the business as well as us. There was a connection mutually between my dad's uh, counterparts and people he was dealing with who also knew this gentleman who wanted to change hands of the business and go in a different direction. So um, they ended up meeting, talked about it, went over some financials, and then a private sale of the business.
Gotcha. So it sounds like it was a fairly quick process for you guys to do it, just because you had that good relationship with the business owner.
Yeah, I mean, it was a small business, under probably, making $500,000 in sales a year. So it wasn't like, a crazy large business, pretty low scale operation, maybe one or two people involved in a daily business. So it was a pretty easy transition after they met to kind of understood what needed to be, implemented in order to run the business. So it was a pretty easy transition.
And then what about this business stood out? I know like the good relationship with the owner, and then your dad tapping you on the shoulder of like, you know everything about cars, Dan. You can run this business for me.
I mean, the great thing about it was obviously, it was small enough to have somebody either do it like, full time or part time. The daily day to day is not super involved. just shipping out some orders, but everything's e-commerce, so there's not people coming into the storefront, so you don't need somebody there full time. It makes money overnight. You could be going to sleep, you wake up the next morning, you have 4 or 5 orders you need to process. So eventually, me currently, like, I do this part time, which is great. Helps supplement, give me something to do in my free time, as well as support some daily expenses I might have.
And then I guess like this is a good section here of like what does ABC Direct Auto Parts do? So it's an e-commerce business, and you're selling.
Yeah, so e-commerce, all online. Dealing on eBay and Amazon. We do have a private website where we sell products. We sell everything, U.S. market as well as the Canadian market and some international business that we do. But overall, yeah, everything's e-commerce. No one comes into a storefront or anything. All ships out via post office, FedEx, UPS. Pretty easy process.
Mhm. So you like procure the parts from various different vendors and supply product stored in a warehouse, and then when you get interest from like eBay or your website or Amazon, that's when you ship it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So yes, we do have a physical warehouse. It's small. It's about 1,000 square feet. We do house some of our products in there. We have ignition products is what we specialize in. So we have some coils, some leftover wires from previous inventory, as well as an oil additive. But we actually have a great opportunity where we set up a dropship function where we get wire orders from eBay or Amazon. It's great. We have our order processing system, and then we just drop ship them to our supplier, who is in Puerto Rico, and then they ship the wire sets out for us.
Okay, gotcha. So not only are you like you have the warehouse for some of your products, but then you're also drop shipping things outside of it.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
that's super easy. Very simple, and helps you make money quickly without having to invest a lot into a physical warehouse or inventory.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense. But I mean, all this stuff was kind of new for you, right? You came from the heavy duty and automotive industry, and you weren't e-commerce. So I guess take me back to the early days when you first acquired a business. What did it look like then, and how's that transition to where it is now?
So the product aspect, that wasn't new. Obviously, I knew auto parts and I knew applications. Transitioning from heavy duty to automotive is probably the easier way to go. Everything's all driven by VIN, year, make, model in the automotive business. So application is very easy to understand versus in like a heavy duty situation. Um, there's no VIN numbers. There's no like looking up the spec sheet of what the car was built with. It could just be anything, which is kind of difficult to navigate. But as far as this goes, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of these websites like Amazon and eBay have support for automotive products, which have fitment tables, which allow you to build them, publish them, and allows customers to easily find their applications.
Hmm. And then when you took over the business, what was that like learning experience like to like learn the business? It sounds like it was drinking water from a fire hose there.
Yeah, so e-commerce like that was something we had never done before, myself nor my dad, who was, in business for 40, 50 years, managing small, large companies. Uh, that took some learning, but and there's a lot of tools and videos and stuff online where you can look up how does a drop shipping work, how do you build things on Amazon and eBay, because most of the time it's not intuitive. It does take a little guesswork and some prodding to figure it out, but eventually between the two of us, we ended up like building a lot of new inventory on those websites, but thankfully we did already have some existing listings to kind of go from or allow you to copy from it. So we weren't starting completely from scratch.
Did the owner of the business stay on for like a period of time to help coach you and your dad up?
Typically, I think that's like how it's supposed to go. So they offered their assistance for at least like a year, bounce questions and stuff on them. Um, the good and the bad thing was, they had people. that work for them. We only took one person from their existing business and moved it over, which was our marketing manager at the time. He handled our Google advertising as well as like our advertising on eBay and Amazon as far as, setting up ad campaigns. So that was nice to at least have that. But unfortunately, the original owner wasn't involved in the day to day. So a lot of that was kind of trial and error, figuring out how to set our warehouse up, set up processing, and then switching everything over to make sure it worked for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point that you bring up here. Like, you bought a business from an owner who was an absentee owner. So they didn't really know the day-to-day operations of the business. Like, sure, they were providing consulting support to you, but it sounds like a lot of that was you guys using YouTube to figure this stuff out.
Yeah, it was YouTube, and then again a bunch of like trial and error. I would say nowadays a lot of these like e-commerce websites as well as these order processing or order management systems are fairly intuitive. It's not like archaic where you like have to go in and pick every aspect. A lot of it's automated for the most part and stores data. So like if you've shipped something, you know the dimensions, you know the weight. All you got to do is, auto populate the address it's going to, click a button, generates a price, and then you process it. So it's at least that portion's fairly easy to understand and implement.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like though a lot of this stuff, how you describe it, was like totally new to you, and it was very hard when you first got going, and now it's just second nature because you've done it so many times.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess like knowing what you know now, and if you were to buy like another e-commerce business, what would you do differently?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would do differently. I mean, knowing what I know now, I know like the things to look out for, as far as like not falling into like I don't know
I
exactly.
guess
Yeah.
that's a better question. Like knowing what you know now, if you were to buy an e-commerce
Mhm.
business, what would you be looking for?
Uh, I would say at least a little more involved owner, um, making sure that their, you know, order management systems, as well as processes were like updated. Because when we purchased this business, unfortunately, the order management system they were using was good, except for it was like very, very old. So, uh, after 5, 6 years, they ended up like kind of phasing out and not having the tools that most modern order management systems have, and then they eventually phase themselves out. So then it leaves us scrambling to find a completely new order management system, even though we've used this one and we're used to it. So that's like, for e-commerce, I think one of the very important things is to have a good organization as well as a good order management system to keep track of your inventory, order processing, which then would lead you to, you know, operating a business seamlessly.
Hmm. Makes sense there. And then I guess like I've interacted with eBay and Amazon from the consumer standpoint. How is it different from like the retail standpoint, like your side?
So as a seller, I would say eBay is the better e-commerce website to deal with, like ease of use, ease of processing, orders, doing managing returns, everything involved in the day-to-day, price changes, price uploads, product uploads. It's very easy and straightforward. Uh, Amazon, I think, because they're a very, very large business, a lot of their processes are a little archaic. They tend to favor the consumer versus the seller when it comes to e-commerce.
Hmm. And then if you were like looking to buy another e-commerce business, is there like certain metrics that you like you track for on a daily basis right now with it, ABC Direct Auto Parts that you would like look for?
Uh,
So I guess the overarching question here is, if I were to buy an e-commerce business, Dan,
mhm.
what would you tell me to look out for?
I would, involving the e-commerce, websites. Make sure your ratings and everything are good, your returns are good, because they do judge you on that, and they can shut you down pretty quickly, especially Amazon. If you have bad reviews, bad return rates, bad order fulfillment, um, things can go haywire quickly. And if you don't react quickly enough, then essentially they shut you down, and they will not let you operate until you fix those items.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So in addition to like revenue and probably like
Yeah,
earnings that the owner's taking home, look at like the reviews that customers are saying, as
yeah.
well as how much is being returned back to the seller.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you have those items set, like I just talked about, you have your good reviews and all that, you can always change, your profitability. That's something we dealt with. Like, we went from when we first bought this business to being, for example, a just a another distributor for a product that we had, and then in a matter of 4 or 5 years, we managed to change prices, go with the market, and we became the only and the number one distributor of this product. So, with some trial and error, dealing with the market, making sure that we marketed correctly, having images, answering customers' questions quickly, fulfilling orders quickly and on time. Um, that led us to be, again, the only and number one distributor, which then led for us to make a better profit.
Mhm. Well, let's like settle in here because I think this is also interesting too. Like you've been able to grow the business,
Mhm.
right? Uh, how have you been able to do that? I know you came from like the product management space where you're analyzing all this stuff and your different product mixes. Like, how have you been able to grow your business now?
Yeah, so I mean, e-commerce is tough because you're competing against people, from around the world, all different walks of life, small businesses, large businesses. So you just need to pay attention to what's going on. If you can, focus on a niche product like we do. We don't try to go out and sell everything. We literally specifically work on ignition products, for you know basically American muscle cars, as well as a specific oil additive that goes towards classic cars. So we have a very niche market. That's the only playground that we play in. So it allows us to select the correct products for the for the correct applications, um, and then allows us to market, to those people specifically, without having to compete against like thousands of other people.
Hmm. So like, was that the case when you bought the business, or did you guys change the whole business strategy to focus on your ideal customer?
Um, so we didn't change our product mix much. We kind of stayed in the same product lines. We just really looked at, okay, we can see that these specific products are selling for these specific vehicles. And then when you can clearly see that, hey, you're selling 50 wire sets a month on this specific application, you say to yourself, hey, this looks like it's a hot application that our customers are purchasing. What else can we sell that's related that goes and works on that same application?
Hmm. So I guess like deciding on what new products and categories to expand into, it's really looking at what's working well for you right now and your customers, and then seeing what else they might want, if I follow correctly.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I always learn, or I always remember from college, go for the low hanging fruit. So it's like, you know, we know that we can sell these products, so the risk level is very low. Um, if it's not a, crazy product like, adding a transmission, which I don't think we would ever do, um, that doesn't make sense because it's a large product to ship. It's too big of an application. What do we currently have in our portfolio that could work? What relations do we currently have with what vendors that offer a similar product?
Hmm. Hmm. And then I guess like how do you manage all those vendor relationships that you have right now, and then find new ones too?
I mean, it's really just, dealing with them on a daily basis, making sure you have good contact with them, keeping up that relationship. We go out to SEMA pretty much every year and we meet with these vendors in person. Also, while we're out there, there's thousands of vendors, so we can say, hey, we sell X product. Who else is here? that we can go see that sells a similar product. Hey, just in case, like, you know, our supplier might be out of something or our supplier sells to somebody else. Contingency plan that allows us to navigate somewhere else if we needed to.
Makes sense. We had someone on that was like totally different product, but selling candy, and Jeff, and he was saying that he was always asking his vendors and suppliers like, "Hey, what's moving elsewhere? Are you talking to your suppliers too to ask them like what product lines are moving elsewhere that you might be able to add or expand into or maybe think about?"
Yeah, I mean, for example, our wire supplier that we drop ship with, they have access to other products. So if it's an occasion where, we have a customer looking for something that we don't have in our product line, but they have, we can always drop ship it or set up a specific part number to help facilitate that. And if it goes well, then we can add it to our portfolio permanently. I'll give you an example. We sell different wire sets for different applications, but also within the same application, we go from OEM all the way to high performance. Sometimes a customer says, hey, well, I want something a little high performance, but I don't want to pay the full price of the super high performance stuff. So our vendor, for example, came up with a 8.5-inch wire, which is in between 8 and 10, and they said, hey, we can offer this. It's at a good price point. Do you think customers would be interested? We said, we'll pick out our top selling wire sets, especially the ones we sell in performance, and say, hey, we'll offer an 8.5-inch at the price point in between the two products we already offer. And it ended up working out very, very well.
That's almost like a team approach. It sounds like that you're working with your vendors and suppliers to see what's going to work, and
Yeah,
then
it's always
trial and
it's
error
yeah,
thing.
constant, relationship management as well as conversations with them to find out, hey, this might be something that is worthwhile for us as well as it works out for them too.
hmm And then like looking at the sales channels that you're using to, sell those products, Amazon, eBay, and your websites. How are you like evaluating the effectiveness of like each of these different sales channels and trying to maximize your visibility? Because I'm imagining like on eBay, it's probably hard to stand out.
So most of the e-commerce websites, I mean, I feel like it's always necessary to have your own website where you sell products on. I would say, fortunately or unfortunately, we don't do a lot of business on our personal website, just because the presence of Amazon and eBay. uh, I would say the necessary evil of dealing with Amazon. Everyone's familiar with it. They feel comfortable buying on it. They probably already have all their information, including credit card information, set up on there. So it's as simple as finding the product they want, click a button, and it makes it easy for the consumer. So you always have to keep that in mind. So you can't alienate one website versus the other. So you kind of have to mirror both websites, Amazon and eBay, for example, and make sure you have both products on both websites. And if you are going to, price them differently, you know, find out a reason why you need to do that or how you do that. Uh, pretty much figure that out. And then once you have that information, each individual website offers its own marketing that you can pay for. So that's always something you need to navigate as well. Doing keyword searches, trying to get to the top. Unfortunately, it is pay to play. So the more money you spend, the more money you can make. But it's always, a risk of spending X number of dollars to make X number of dollars. So
Are you
trial and
using
error.
Yeah. Are you using any tools to like look at keyword searches and um, services, I guess, to try to like boost your exposure?
So within each website, they give you like your return on clicks. I think they call it ROAS. So like basically your return on spend, advertising spend, where you can see like, hey, you've spent X number of dollars daily. We've received X number of clicks. You've received X number of sales based upon that. So obviously the higher that ROAS is, the better you're doing. So if you see that you're spending a ton of money and you're not getting a return on it, you need to make an adjustment somewhere, whether it's your spend, what you're actually advertising, or changing up your keywords. So it's a constant daily battle. Also, as simple as, hey, I'll call George. Hey, George, can you go on Amazon real quick and just type this keyword search in and see what comes up first? And if you tell me there's five other people in front of me, we have to change something about that.
Hmm. Another metric you probably want to track if you're buying an e-commerce
Yes,
business, ROAS.
ROAS.
Makes sense. Makes sense. You've been able to like make this business semi-absentee or absentee in some sense. Like, I'm imagining it wasn't totally absentee when you first started because you and your dad were in there pretty frequently understanding the business. But how has this evolution happened to make it an absentee ownership business?
Yeah, so I mean, I think any business you buy, whether it's small or large, you need to spend time, put the groundwork into place to make it so that it can be absentee. So, a lot of it was setting up processes as far as, say, shipping goes. There were some products that we looked at. We had no pictures. It's very hard to sell something without pictures. So, unfortunately, I was the photographer, so I took a lot of pictures, a lot of editing. I had to learn Photoshop on the fly. Um, so, spending the time making sure that your base or your ground of your business is good would then allow us from going to spend, say, 8 or 10 hours in our warehouse to about give or take 2 hours a day. Um, that's it's just a process, and the longer you have the business, the more you understand it, the easier it gets over time, much like anything else.
Yeah, and it sounds like too you've implemented some like tools and systems you were saying to make things more streamlined too. Like particularly changing from the legacy systems the previous owner had to more modern systems. I guess I'm assuming that helped a lot too.
Yeah, so order management systems. We had an old one which had a lot of capability. It was also very expensive, but when we looked at it, we didn't need all the capability that it was offering. In addition to it also phasing out, but some of the new order management systems that we implemented have applications like for your iPhone, which makes it very very easy to do things on the fly, so you don't physically need to be in front of a computer. Whereas like some of the other ones aren't really app based, they're very web based. So you're trying to deal with small order details on your screen, and it's like, very, very hard or difficult to see what you're doing.
Hmm. And then for someone that wants to create an absentee owner business,
Hmm.
it sounds like you got to lay the groundwork first before you can even think about stepping away. Like, what advice would you give someone to do that?
Uh, I would say, obviously when you're looking at the business, see how it's currently operated, right? If it's being very poorly operated, you're going to be in it for a little bit trying to fix everything and your processes. So if you can find a well-oiled machine business, obviously you might pay for it monetarily up front, but it'll make your life a little easier as time goes on and allow you to get to, being absentee sooner versus one that's poorly run. But the poorly run operation also gives you a lot of opportunity to fix things, get it for cheap, and then maximize your profit in the end game. So really, it's a consideration of how much is your time worth, and how quickly do you want to be getting to that absentee, situation.
Hmm. Hmm. Makes sense. Um, I guess like I have a few questions about like e-commerce in general because
Hmm.
I think this is super interesting and like evolving all over the place right now.
Hmm.
Have you seen any changes or shifts of how like e-commerce is actually being conducted now since when you bought the business?
Uh, so as time has gone on, I've seen that, um, both Amazon and eBay, for example, have uh, expanded their services for buyers and sellers. Also setting more strict regulations. I think if you look at Amazon 10 years ago when we bought this business, pretty much anybody could sell anything on Amazon. It could be genuine product or it could be counterfeit product. There wasn't a lot of regulations that went along with it. If you look at Amazon now, there's a lot of rules and everything in place that uh, helps you against people who are counterfeiting or copying product, which leads to a higher barrier of entry of people trying to get into certain business or certain industry sectors within the specific e-commerce website.
Hmm. Hmm. Have you seen any trend? This might be a little early, I think, but I know like you can buy products now on like ChatGPT and other services like that. Have you seen any movement here, or is it still super early?
Not in our specific market. I mean, I know a lot of people like do that. Like you can just take your logo and put it on like a t-shirt and then try to sell it, which I mean, yeah, technically you could do. It's not considered counterfeit. But I haven't seen anything, at least in our market, where people are just like, able to buy something and then slap their name on it and then sell it against us.
Yeah, yeah. Still, the primary distribution channels are going to be your website, Amazon, and eBay for the
Hmm.
foreseeable future. You talked a lot about like the powers of eBay and Amazon. Um, how does a brand like matter in a space where like price is such a huge factor here?
Uh, it's really just it goes back to brand recognition, and that again, it's not specific to our business. People know certain brands. When you get into certain markets, people also recognize certain brands. Um, for example, a product unfortunately we no longer have or that has been phased out was an oil additive that we had. We spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort marketing it. That allowed us to go from, again, just being a distributor to being the only distributor. Uh, that brand, within our market or industry, had a lot of pull. We had a drag racer that sponsored our brand, Big Daddy Don. People in the industry knew his name, and just because he, was affiliated with it, they automatically assumed that, hey, this product is fantastic, and that's what ended up being very, very successful for us.
Mhm. And then I'm assuming like you providing like a high customer service and people like coming back to buy more products. So like even if they do buy the product from like an eBay, right? Like your
Mhm.
logo's still on the brand and they've had a good experience. So there's some sort of repeat nature to that customer too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously brand recognition, but again, like we talked about before, if you can fulfill product quickly on time, even to the point where we had that product on our, Amazon Prime. So we were able to fulfill it pretty much nationwide. You could be living, we're located in Pennsylvania. You could be living in California. You could have the product next day. Again, that was very helpful getting it out into the market.
What do you think the future of like automotive aftermarket, like e-commerce sales looks like for you guys?
Uh, I mean, it's a huge business and it continues to grow every day. Um, the thing I think that makes a business successful is, again, differentiating yourself, providing a service, or, able to make yourself stand out, which again is hard to do. Obviously, we've been established for a while, so we have a very, very good reputation. But again, there's a lot of people who sell products on eBay, and you can, just make a product and end up selling it on there. So that's always something we keep in the back of our mind, as we could get a new competitor tomorrow, and again, having to deal with that is a cumbersome process.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. And then I guess like on a daily basis, you have like these systems built in place now. Like, what are the metrics that you're like when you log on to your like when you open up your iPhone and you're like looking into your systems? Like, what are the metrics that you're always looking at all the time? Find yourself coming back to.
Um, Again, on time performance, so shipping products out same day, making sure customer reviews are good, um, checking on customers if they have questions. We get questions, as well as like having to process returns every day, making sure those are done on time, getting customers refunds if customers shipments get lost, making sure we're checking all those metrics, and complying with the marketplace platforms that we are selling on, but also seeing how many shipments we're doing a day or how much we're spending on our specific shipping. So shipping can get out of hand very quickly. We've seen, at least in the last year, prices for shipping have gone up significantly. So you need to account for that, not just let it continue to eat you up, dollar by dollar, cent by cent, because then you can, see your profit margins dwindling very, very quickly.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, Dan, I guess like what's been the most rewarding part about being a business owner now? And I know you've done a ton of different things. It sounds like you've like taken this business, you've used YouTube to learn everything and know Amazon and eBay better than anyone else, and everything there is to know about automotive aftermarket.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have the title of business owner, right, or president. That's always cool, right? You get to brag about that, even though I'm a humble person. But it keeps you busy, and you learn things every day, how to operate, and overcome objections. You know, every day something new comes up, and I may not know how to do it right away, and I'll have to Google it or I'll have to figure it out by looking back at something. So it kind of keeps you sharp, keeps you on your feet, uh, keeps you busy. There's also monetary rewards to it. So a lot of small businesses, you can put certain expenses into the business, like your cell phone, gas charges, your automobile. Um, there's benefits when it comes to that. And if you can be absentee and not spend a lot of time on the business, but also cover some expenses for you, then it's fantastic in that aspect.
Hmm. Makes sense. Dan, I guess if someone wants to buy your product, where can people find you at?
So we sell on Amazon, eBay. We have our own Shopify store, coilsandoils.com, or you can search ABC Direct Auto Parts. Will show up there. We're top rated on Amazon and eBay, depending on what you're looking for. Uh, so yeah, you can look at those websites, and you can Google us as well.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate the time and jumping on today. I feel like I know more now about Amazon and eBay and e-commerce than I ever did before. I'm ready to go out and buy a automotive aftermarket e-commerce business. But yeah, really appreciate the time. Really appreciate the
You're
time.
welcome, George. It's always a pleasure.
All right. This is how I bought this. Thanks, everybody.